Welcome back to the second part of our Procedural Rope Bridge series in Blender 5.2 Geometry Nodes. In the previous session, we created the foundation of our bridge, a fully controllable rope structure built from curves. We added parameters for bridge, length, curvature, width, and height, and converted a simple Bezier curve into a flexible procedural system. But at that stage, our bridge was still only a curve framework. In this session, we will begin transforming that framework into a visible 3D structure. First, we will add thickness to the rope using curve to mesh and curve circle. This will convert our simple curve lines into real rope-like geometry. We will also expose rope thickness as a modifier control so that the user can easily adjust the rope diameters without entering the node tree. Then we will go one step further and improve the usability of our procedural model. We will set proper minimum, maximum, and default values for important parameters like bridge length, bridge width, bridge height, and rope thickness. This is an important part of parametric modeling because a good procedural asset should not only be flexible but also safe and easy to control. After that, we will create 4 corner pillars that hold the ropes for the bridge. These pillars will not be placed manually. Instead, we will generate them procedurally using curve line, curve to mesh, curve star, instance on point, and endpoint selection. The most powerful part of this session is that pillars will automatically follow the bridge. When we change the bridge length, the pillars move to the new start and end points. When we change the bridge width, they shift out, inward or outward. When we change the bridge height, the pillars grow along with the bridge. This is where the model starts behaving like a real procedural system. We will also use spline parameter and map range to shape the pillar so that they become wider at the base and narrower at the top. Finally, we will add smoothing using subdivision surface and organize the pillar setup into a clean node group. By the end of this session, our bridge will be no longer be just 4 guide curves. It will have visible rope thickness, 4 dynamic support pillars that respond to the bridge controls. This is an important step in the course because we are moving from a basic parametric curve setup into real procedural bridge construction. So let us continue building our rope bridge and convert our curve framework into a stronger, more believable 3D structure. Let us start by launching Blender 5.2. I have the shortcut on the desktop. I will just double click to launch it. Now once I launch it, in our previous session we ended with this bridge1.blend file. If you are continuing from the previous session, you can open it and start working on it. But if you have come to this episode directly and if you doesn't have this file, you can come into your YouTube video page or in the e-learning page, and I have provided you a link to this Patreon page. So if you come to this Patreon page, I have provided you this bridge1.blend file. You can download it and then open it in Blender. So now I will open this. In our previous session, we had created these 4 ropes, and now I have to add thickness to this rope. After this height and next to the group output, I am first going to press Shift A and come into the search, and I will search for a node called as set curve radius. I will add in between this height and group output. So right now nothing is going to happen. Why I have added this set curve radius, I am going to tell you later, because I am going to control the radius using this set curve radius. I will press Shift A and in search curve to mesh node, I will select it and bring it between set curve radius and group output. Here in curve to mesh, you have the curve input and you have one profile curve. Now what does the profile curve mean is, in the curve here I am going to add a profile, a shape that will move through this curve path, and this shape should be again a curve object, and it might be round, it might be square, or it might be even a triangle. Now to add this profile curve, I will press Shift A and in search I will search for curve circle. I have this curve circle. I will add this curve circle. I will take this output and connect it to geometry output, and you can see that it is a very simple circle. And I am now going to disconnect it from geometry output. I will connect curve to mesh, and I am going to drag this curve circle and connect it to profile curve. And immediately you can see that my row has a thickness circle, and I can click on fill caps to close the edges. So now it appears as a rope, but it is very big. Right now it is set to 1 meter. I will change it to 0.1 meter. I will provide this control to the end user. So I will come and I will drag this radius from curve circle to my group input. Then I will select group input, and in the right side panel here I will scroll down and you have radius. Press F2 and I am going to call this as rope thickness. Now apart from this rope thickness, you also have the resolution here. If I set the resolution to 32, you can see it as a circle. If I set this value to 3, see it became a triangle. And if I set its value to 4, it will become a square. I can change the shape of my row by changing the resolution. Right now I will set it to 5. So I have somewhat a pentagon type shape here. And one thing about the controls that I am providing to the end user is, these controls, say for example, I have set the bridge length to 10 meters and someone can drag it and infinitely keep any length he wants, and I does not want the user to do it. So I will set this back to 10 meters, and now if I come into my geometry panel, press Ctrl space to make it full screen. For every attribute, say for example bridge length, you have 3 values. The default value I will set it to 10 meters, and minimum distance he can set is 4 meters, and maximum he can set is 1000 meters. So I have limited this value between 4 and 1000. If I press Ctrl space, bring back my layout, here now when I drag the bridge length, see it goes down and I cannot reduce it below 4. I cannot increase it beyond 1000. So I will set it back to my default 10 meters. I can control all the values here. Bridge width also, I want to add a limitation here. I will press Ctrl space, and for bridge width, the default width I will keep it at 4 meters, and the minimum width that I can have is 1 meter, and the maximum width that my bridge can have is 20 meters. So you cannot move it beyond 20 meters. Similarly, bridge height, the default I will keep it at 4 meters. Minimum height it should have is 1 meter, and the maximum height I can go with 10 meters. And rope thickness, default I will leave it at 0.1, and the minimum thickness I want is 0.05, and the maximum thickness 0.5 meters. So between 0.05 and 0.5 meter, I can control this thickness. I will press Ctrl space and come back to my layout. These 2 rows are bound by pillars at the 4 corners. So now I have to create 4 pillars or 4 mounts to hold these ropes. I will come to geometry node just near the group output. I will drag group output down. I will press Shift A and in search add a line, add a curve line. Right now you are not seeing the curve line because I have not added to the output. Right now I will set this as the output. If I press numpad period, this is nothing but a straight line. It has a start point which is starting from 0, and in end point I am moving it only along the z-axis. So as I move the z-axis, its height is going to change. So right now this height is set to 1 meter. I want this to be divided into segments. So I will press Shift A and in search, look for resample curve and attach it between curve line and geometry. I will set the count to around 50. So now I will follow the same principle that we used for our ropes. I had used this set curve radius. I will press Shift D, make a copy and put it in the resample curve. And also I will drag group output to the side, and I will take this curve to mesh, press Shift D and duplicate it, and I will place it next to this set curve radius. Just like I added a curve circle as the profile, I will press Shift A and come into the search, and I will search for a curve primitive star. I will put it at the bottom and I will connect this curve as the profile curve. and as soon as I connect it as the profile curve, but this is not what exactly I want. So now to make it look like a mount, I will reduce the number of points here is 8. I will make this 3. So this appears like a triangle block now. There are two radius. Inner radius, I will set it to some value like 0.3 meters, and outer radius, I will set it to something like 0.5 meters. Now what I want here is, in this pillar, I want the bottom base to be wider than top, and to control this, I was using this set curve radius. Now what has happened is, with the latest version of Blender, this set curve radius is replaced by the scale that I used by curve to mesh. So this set curve radius will have no effect on my geometry. So I will select this set curve radius, I will delete it, and I will connect resample curve directly to the curve here. And even here in the ropes, this set curve radius has no effect. So I will press delete and delete it and connect geometry directly to the curve. And I am going to control this scale using scale. I will place the star here. The bottom, the scale should be 1, and as it goes up, the scale should be around 0.5. To achieve this, I am going to use a node called as map range. So if I press Shift A and come into the search, I will search for this map range, and I will take this map range and I will connect it to scale. And when I try to use this, now what happens is, from minimum to maximum, whatever changes I am doing, it is changing the entire radius at a time. So this map range is not working. The reason why it is not working is, in this line, my map range doesn't know which point is at the bottom and which point is at the top. I will disconnect this map range. I will press Shift A, and in search, I will search for another node called as Spline parameter, and I will add it here. Now if I take the factor of my spline parameter and collect it to scale, then immediately you can see that at the bottom it is 0, and as it is moving up, it is going to 1. To control my pillar radius from bottom to top, if I want to alter it, I have to use this spline parameter. But if I connect it directly, I have no control at all. To control it, I will just drag group output curve to mesh. I will take this spline parameter and connect it to value of my map range. Then I will take the result and connect it to scale now. My map range is going to work. See, I can set the minimum to maximum here. From minimum, from maximum, I can make the changes and make it change its diameter. Now, the value I am going to set is, for minimum, I will set the value to 0. From maximum, I will set it to 1. And to minimum also, I will set it to 1. And I will only change this maximum value. So when I change the maximum value, so you can see the shape. I will set this to maximum value to something like 0.5. And now coming to the star, I will set the inner range to 0.2 and outer range to 0.3. I made it slightly smaller. Both this structure and my rope is here, both to be visible. So I will just press Ctrl space, and I will select all the nodes here at the bottom, which represents my pillar. I will drag it down here, and I want both this to be visible. So in that case, I will press. Now because I have added the Node Wrangler plugin, now to join both this geometry, I have to add join geometry and connect it. But the keyboard shortcut is press Ctrl Shift, right click from this curve to mesh, and drag to the other curve to mesh. So if I drag it like this, now you can see joint geometry is added automatically. And if I press Ctrl space, you can now see both the rope and also my pillar. Now our next challenge, this pillar, I doesn't want it at the center. This pillar should start from the starting point of my rope to the ending point of my rope. This should be present on this rope. And as my rope length changes, height changes, width changes, this pillar also has to move along with it. I will just come here in this pillar section. See, this is the pillar section. I will select this entire group here, creating the pillar. I will select all the points here, press Ctrl G and group it, and I am going to call this as pillars. Now I will press tab and come back. So I have my pillars. Now this pillar, before I come and join it, I am going to press Shift A and come into the search, and I will search for the node instance on point, and I will connect it in between this pillar and join geometry. Pillar is connected to point and it is going to join geometry, and you are not seeing it here. Actually, this pillar is an instance and not a point. And the point from where it will come, if you just move it a little back, see, if I take the height output from this geometry and connect it to point, this pillar is generated both on the top rope and also on the bottom rope. I doesn't want it, so I will disconnect it. And if I take it only from width here to the points, now you can see it is generated only on the bottom rope. But now what is happening is, these pillars are present at every point of my rope. If you come here into my rope curve, and if I press tab, and if you come and see here, in resample curve I had sent the count to 40. Say if I make the count 5, so you have only 5. So since I have put it to 40 points, I have this pillar. I want this pillar to be only at the end and not at all the instances. So to put it only at the end, I have going to add another node. I will pull instance of point little to the side and press Shift A, and in search, I am going to search for a node called as Endpoint selection. So I will select this Endpoint selection and I will keep it next to this instance of points, and from the selection I will drag to this selection point. Now what is happening, you can see you have one pillar at the starting and one pillar at the end. So I have one on at the end. Say for example, in end size, if I choose 2, at the end point you have 2. If I click the start size to 2, I will have 2 at the start point. So I will set this back to 1. I have my pillar appearing exactly at the end point. Now our next challenge is, I want this pillar to be the height of my bridge. If you come into pillars, I will select the pillar group, press tab. Inside the pillar, you had the curve line, and in the curve line, if I change Z, you can see how it is moving up. And this height, if my rope 4 meter, this should also be 4 meter. I am going to now come into this curve line, and here I want only the Z value. So I will press Shift A, and in search, I will search for combine XYZ node, and I will connect it to the end point here. From the Z, for the group input, I will drag one input, and I will come in the group pillar. I will select this Z, press F2, and I will call this as pillar underscore height. I will press tab, come into this pillar, and now I have pillar height here. So move it, it is going to change. But this pillar height, I want it to be set to the height of my bridge. Whatever bridge height I am setting, that should be my pillar height. I will take my bridge height and connect it to pillar height. Now what happens? Whenever I increase the bridge height, you can see my pillar is also changing. So I will set it back to 4. I want this pillar to be slightly bigger than my rope. I will come to geometry node panel and press Shift A, and I will search for the math node here, and in the math node I will connect it between this bridge height and pillar here. And in this case, I will change this to multiply, and I will multiply it by a value of 1.05. So this appears to be fine. Because I have multiplied it by 1.05, there is a slight increase in height, and as I change the bridge height, this height is also going to vary. Proportionately, this height will vary. I have set my bridge height. I will set this back to 4. I will come into this pillar, press tab. Before this group output, I will press Shift A and search for subdivision surface. And I will add this subdivision surface between curve to mesh and group output, and you can see I have added some subdivision here. I will choose the option keep boundary, adjust the level of subdivision. I will make it 2 and I can set the edge crease value and I will slightly increase the edge crease, and also vertex crease let it be 0 only, and edge crease I will keep it something like 0.5. And now you can see I have a perfect pillar on all the 4 sides. And now inside this pillar groove, I also want this pillar to be slightly below this row, and for that I will come into the curve line, and in the starting point of my Z, I will move it slightly along the Z to approximately minus 0.5, so that my bridge is below actually the row. So you can see there is a slight gap even below and above. This is completely dynamically controlled. Say for example, if now I change the bridge curvature start, or if I change the bridge length, or even if I make the bridge width, if I vary it, or the bridge height, you can see the pillars are moving in line with my bridge dimension. So I will set back my bridge length to 10 and bridge curvature to -3, and also bridge width to 4 meter and bridge height also to 4 meters. So now I will press tab and come back. I have completed my pillar section, and after the pillar section, in our next session we have to create wooden planks here. We will be doing it in our next session. So I will come to file and I will click on save as, and I will call this file as bridge 2, and I am going to click on save. So let us meet in our next session.